what I want to talk to you about today was my experience and my connection with bullying in specifically the LGBTQ community. And let me give a little bit of background on me that will explain a little bit. I grew up in South Jersey. I'm the youngest of 6 boys. So as you might guess, I was raised to be very tough, very strong, very get in your face, be manly, all that sort of thing. So for the most part, I never really had anyone be really aggressive with me towards my sexuality for most of my life. Well, then, skip ahead to about 2008, actually exactly to 2008. I was in the Gay Men's Chorus, and we're about to debut a brand new cantata called New World Waking. And the main theme that I auditioned for and was selected to sing at Davies is a song called Gabby's Song, Will It Always Be Like This, which is a true story about Billy Clayton, who was a young teenager in Washington who was gay, who had been bullied repeatedly, sexually assaulted, and it was too much for him, and unfortunately he had taken his own life. And he never left a suicide note or anything, but his parents found a notebook in his bedroom, and one of the tops of one of the chapters said, "Will it always be like this? Is everything set in stone? Is there nothing I can change? Will I always be alone?" And the internet was still pretty early then, but his mom, Gabby, made a page for him, all about his life, and this was before It Gets Better had started at all. And so that was up on the internet. And separately, Steve Shacklin, who's a very good friend of mine now, who wrote New World Waking, was on a tour. They were taking the John Lennon piano, this big white piano, around the country to any place that was a scene of terrible violence and playing songs. And Gabby hooked up with Steve online because Steve had created a blog called Living the Bonus Round, which is about people that survived HIV. Right about the time that protease inhibitors came out, when people were like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna live, so what should we do? They met, they connected, yeah, people had been selling their insurance policies and all that sort of thing, and anyway, so they met, and he ended up playing some of his music near her, and they met. They wrote the song together, and it became the cantata that I got to sing. So it was a really heavy burden on me to, a lot of times when you sing, you can make it about you or whatever, honestly, big egos and tenors especially. But I was, I kept thinking and his parents came to Davies to see it and everything, and I was like really just thinking, how could I do this justice? How could I do this to my best ability? So I did it, but after I did it, I'll get to this, Steve had asked me to write a letter about my experience. And I had an experience just before performing that I wanted to tell you about from the letter that I'll read to you. So I'll take it from here. So Steve says, I asked people to put in opinions of the cantata, and then I get this from Stephen Camarota. I had an instant connection to Gabby's song. The melody, the words, the arrangement, all of it called to me in a subtle yet definitive way. After reading the whole history of the song about Bill and his parents, I kept thinking about what he might have been like so many years later. We would have been about the same age, and in so many ways, I was the Bill that had lived on, and this was a great responsibility. About a week before I auditioned for the song, I was verbally accosted by a disgruntled guy at the gym. This guy got up in my face and called me a fag for blocking his space, and proceeded to threaten and try to scare me. I was so caught off guard, I didn't say anything. And what I did put in this letter was I was naked. I had taken off my clothes. I was in a towel. And I had never actually been called the word fag, like up to that point, and I was just absolutely stunned. And then I was shocked that nobody around me said anything. And clearly what I knew were gay people around me too. No one said anything. And in the end of this moment, my calm demeanor only irritated him further. I mean, I was exhausted from working out and totally in shock anyway. I felt triumphant how I had responded to him, although still I had found myself somewhat afraid for a few days after the incident. I kept thinking what I should have said, what I should have done, and then to top it all off, I felt this sense of hate over my own sense of fear. And I wanted to know why this happened, why I felt so humiliated. So the only thing I felt like I could do was go back to the gym immediately, which I did. I went to the same space, and eventually my confidence came back, and I further vowed to step up and help anyone I had witnessed being treated that way from then on. And I'm pretty sure, because I think I saw him again. I think I asked him to move also, because I had asked him to move his stuff, and he was shocked, and he looked at me like he was surprised that I lived my life. So even through all of that, I thought about my experience as only a fraction of what this boy, Bill Clayton, went through. And maybe that's why I had the experience, to help me feel what others feel like who have been mistreated simply for who they are. So before each show, I would meditate alone and prepare for the song with all of these things on my mind. And at the beginning of the run of the chorus show, the understudy had given me a picture of Bill, which I kept in my jacket every time I performed it. And I would begin to sing and see all the faces moved, including his parents at Davis Symphony Home. And I felt a great cathartic oneness with everyone within the sound of my voice. By the end of the song, I would see Bill at the back of the hall, leaning on one leg and smiling at me. And then he would walk off in peace. So, singing that song has been the greatest honor of my life. And I sang it recently again at Martini's, and you probably sing it my whole life. So that's my experience.
Do you feel comfortable singing any of it to us? Or is that unfair to ask without letting you warm up?
I could sing a little, I suppose. Will it always be like this? She found some words left in his notebook, the only clue he left behind. And from the words left in his notebook, she saw into his tortured mind. Fear was hanging in the air, and he left a simple question there. Will it always be like this? Is everything set in stone? Is there nothing I can change? Will I always be alone? Something like that. So I'm still friends with Gabby today. We still converse, we still talk. And yeah, that was it. That was the life-changing moment in my life, and I had never really experienced how important that was until then.
To the kids who are getting bullied every day, what would you want to tell them?
I would tell them that it's okay to be afraid. Just let the fear push you forward, not push you back. That's what I would say. And they're not alone. There's people around them. And sometimes people around them, because I was really offended at people that didn't help me. And I find it much easier, and I think we all in this group could probably agree, I find it much easier to support other people's things than my own, a lot of times. And I don't judge, I did for a while judge the people that did nothing, so I know they're in another moment of frozenness, they don't want to get involved, so. But if I see that, I just feel, now I'm kind of the other extreme, where I just want to jump in there and defend everything. So, that's what I would say, and be who you are. There's nothing wrong with who you are. I just make no junk.
Yeah.
Yeah.